And on today's Quickfire interview, we delve into the topic of supply chain visibility with Eric Lund, head of Sony's IoT tracking division. Eric, great to have you here today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, let's jump right into the topic. So as you know, supply chain visibility is becoming more important for many organizations, which is why Core and Sony have partnered to bring a joint solution to market. In your opinion, how has the landscape changed for critical asset monitoring over the last year, especially due to things like COVID?
Well, I think we are one of the industries, one of the verticals that have benefited from COVID. If you talk about benefits, it really is that what we are doing, supply chain visibility, has gone from a nice to have to a need to have. It has really become a key discipline within logistics for business continuity, where we have seen the standard operating procedure for logisticians to look for long and cheap supply chains has really turned out not to be the answer. Customers have seen substantial disruption both last year and seeing again this year with the imbalances in supply flows and within the transport industry as such. And visibility really helped them to drive both an understanding how to work on building resilient supply chains, but also to have the insight to work and act with agility in the moment when you do need to have actions, when you do need to take action rather.
So obviously the COVID and some of the things of last year were unexpected, which gets to where the industry is, right? We don't always know what's coming. Knowing you don't have a crystal ball, no one probably expected COVID. Where do you see the landscape going in the next maybe 3 to 5 years?
Since visibility is now on the corporate agenda, it is being discussed in boardrooms. I think ourselves as well as our competitors in the market or colleagues in the market are having unprecedented number of discussions across multiple industry verticals. We see that companies are looking to achieve end-to-end visibility of their supply chains, and that varies a little bit from company to company, but really from a parcel level or an item level, from my shelf to your shelf, being able to operate with that, to have insight both in the moment, real time, as well as on a more flow perspective, working with that data and with that insight that gives you to optimize both efficiency-wise, cost-wise. And I think the last big area that we'll see a lot of movements in is within AI or using AI to achieve more predictability in your supply chain or logistics plan in the transport, which goes both with regards to the planning, do more and more intelligent planning, but also in terms of the types of alerts you get when things happen, to actually be able to do it predictively rather than based on parameters, so you're able to take action before a buildup of an event happens to avoid the damage rather than to deal when it has happened.
Yeah, proactive is always everyone's goal, which kind of leads to another question is, what can the organizations be doing now, knowing some of the changes you talked about are coming? Are there maybe specific 1 or 2 things they could do to prepare for that?
Yeah, I think you and I, we've discussed it a couple of times, and it ties in generally to the sort of the main trends with regards to digital supply chain transformation, automation that is happening. But I think if we look at it practically, you really need to understand, have a rudimentary understanding of, where do you believe some of your main problems are? What are the key metrics that you're looking to improve? Where do you believe that you see damages? Where are you being restricted in executing on your supply chain? And basically from that corner on, build a use case, test it, achieve the visibility through using a solution like ours, take action on it, and then move from use case problem space to problem space until it becomes a part of your enterprise-wise operations of your value chain.
And you mentioned use case. Do you have something you could take us just a little further in terms of how the solution's working?
Yeah, we between us have definitely a few together, but if I should just highlight a few of them to demonstrate the different drivers. Typically, we look for supply chain visibility. If we talk about time sensitivity, we are working in Europe with supply logistics provider that's doing vaccine distribution, where it's the critical last mile delivery, accurate ETA prediction, and a real-time understanding of the process of these delivery that is driving the use case. If you're looking at use cases surrounding sensitive goods transport, where you need to understand the transport environment, it could be temperature, it could be what kind of impact is my transport getting during the transport flow of different modes. For example, our common customers within the medtech, where delicate medical equipment, if it's been exposed to a forklift run into the trailer, for example, as an example, would mean that potentially it's prone to damage, doesn't operate correct, or need to be recalibrated before the end user can rely on the results from the equipment. Third area is typically around valuable goods. From a Sony perspective, it's very much close to heart and close to mind. If you, for example, looked at the launch of the PlayStation 5 in the fall, where it was critical from a risk management point of view to have a real-time understanding. In many geographies, we basically had response teams standing alert if we believed that there were deviations to the planned route. We were seeing things happening that we didn't believe was supposed to happen, and so on and so forth. Last but not least, taking a step back, having visibility of your supply chain allows you to make decisions, of changing how you do your routing patterns. And we have examples of customers that are working with, glass within pharmaceutical or within automotive, being able to understand, is ocean freight versus rail transport the right solution for us? We are seeing a lot of tests going on right now, exploration going on in the Europe-Asia trade or Asia-Europe trade, where companies are exploring the Silk Road by rail transport from Asia, from China, through the former Russian state to Europe. Understand, is this a viable option for us? Does it time-wise, cost-wise, risk-wise allow us to choose this option versus maybe a more expensive air freight option or a longer ocean freight option? So I think those are some of the examples we're typically talking with our clients about.
Well, thanks, Eric. That's some good insight, and my kids aren't here to thank you, but for the PlayStation, great for getting that going. But on a more serious matter too, I mean, with the vaccines and all the logistics around that, I mean, that is the other end of the spectrum. We love our games, but we need a vaccine. So some quite a different range of solutions, but they all have the same, at heart: logistics, supply chain, location, optimization, condition-based monitoring. Where are my goods? When are they getting here? So I think that is a common challenge across many use cases. And of course, with the pandemic, that has brought some new ones, and not only new use cases, but increased the demand for real-time visibility. So
very much so.
Anything else you want to add today before we wrap up?
No, I'm just looking forward to continue to engage with Core Wireless in the market and pursue not only the types of use cases we talked about now, but many other use cases that our customers can explore together with us.
Well, thank you. And thank you again for joining us. As we said, critical asset monitoring is affecting businesses across the globe for location tracking, condition-based monitoring, critical assets in cargo, right? Your different modes of transportation that you mentioned, tracking, let's say, electrical equipment or games, and healthcare is obviously one of the new opportunities. Is really seeing a lot of visibility, and so thanks again, Eric, for joining us today on the Quickfire interview. And for those of you who have watched this video, if you need more information, go to corewireless.com. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dennis.